Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is the show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. And before I get started, we do have the viewer's pick of the week at the end of the video, so in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week for a chance to be featured on the video. Now, let's get started. I had 10 books this week, so pretty average size haul. Number 10 for me is Thor issue 33, a book, honestly, I've been debating on dropping. I obviously been picking up, I would say mostly since issue 1, maybe I've dropped it an arc here and there. So I've been sticking around for a while, and I've enjoyed this series, but I feel like it has dropped off a little bit. I feel like it is lost steam, and just it needs a new direction overall. And even the art, when you look at it, I'm like, okay, it looks nice, but then when you read the page a little bit more, it looks a little scuffy. Same thing for the coloring. So overall, giving that one 2 stars. I do want to like this more than I do, but it is definitely on the bubble for me. All right, moving on to number 9. A book I was looking forward to, and that is Deep Cuts issue 1. I am a huge fan of books that involve music. I love the idea of something that you have to hear actually being visually presented to you. And I didn't really know much about this book besides it was about music in New Orleans. I actually thought it was like a mini series of one character you're following, but it looks like every issue is going to be a little bit more oversized, and every issue is going to focus on a new character or different genre. I don't know if it's a different genre, but a different time within music history. And this has to do with New Orleans, has to do with jazz. And I love that. I love the ambiance of this book, but I couldn't get into the character. I couldn't get into the full narrative of the book and sink my teeth into this one as much as I wanted to, besides the overall ambiance. So giving that one 2.5 stars, and that's number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is a book I also kind of got on a whim, which was Invincible Iron Man issue 5. I read the first issue of this book, didn't love it, and then I saw Emma was showing up, and I'm like, all right, this could be a really interesting supporting character to have on board. There's an interesting element in this issue where we get to see Iron Man and this villain have to do with Sentinels, and Iron Man Sentinel, and be like, oh no, why are you creating this thing? That's interesting because you are bringing Emma Frost into it all, and the X-Men and Krakoa, and I was like, okay, that could potentially be something, but the way they weave that into this issue just didn't do it for me. And I thought Emma would be in it a little bit more. I thought it would be new reader friendly. Again, I say the villain because I didn't really know who that was, so it definitely wasn't as new reader friendly or jumping on point friendly as introducing a character like Emma could have been. So overall, giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 8. All right, moving on to number 7, a book that was delayed. Supposed to come out 2 weeks ago, but now it's officially coming out, and that's World Tree issue 1. I like the overall feel of this book. You definitely have the tension of these people who are attracted to gore porn on the internet and just like gory stuff, and we get to see that in more of a horror lens of this person killing people and showing the phone and getting people murdered. We have this brother of a character who is involved in this, and I guess the main character is the guy who's not actually involved on the internet in, I guess, like the 4chan side of everything. So he might be the main character. I don't know if it's the killer is the main character or not, but the brother dies. The guy was kind of into this all and who's been killing people, and that's the end. So I feel like it built up the world in an interesting way. I don't know if I like a good story where you really get into a character more than a world building story. So this is definitely more for people that love the world building. But I thought it was horrific enough for me to at least get issue 2. I love horror, and I thought it set up the tone nicely. And I like the idea of this commentary about the internet. So I always enjoy a good commentary about the internet. And also the art's good. It's gritty. It works. And overall, I'm going to give that 3 stars. All right. That was number 7. Moving on to number 6. A book I thought improved a little bit, and that is The Neighbors issue 2. I still am on the bubble for this one just because I like the ideas of it, but I don't know if there's necessarily a hook for me. But I like the idea of this character showing their transition and the steps of transitioning. I thought that was a really great element. And then, of course, in the background, the more horror element, horrific element of what's going on in this house. Why is their kid being affected by this all? And there's just something very haunting about it, honestly. There's just really interesting creepiness that I feel like I honestly felt more here than even in World Tree, because it was also subtle. And in World Tree, it's more like, all right, here's all these people dying, and you kind of, you get a little numb to the goreness of this. This is like little things where like someone's stuffed animal gets destroyed, and you're like, why did you do that? So I enjoyed those elements. I just don't know if I enjoy the overall plot yet. So we'll see if I end up getting issue 3 or not. But the artwork works for this, and I enjoy the overall commentary is trying to tell. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Daredevil issue 10. This is honestly the highest Daredevil's been in a while. And I like just seeing the juxtaposition of the Avengers' ideal of being a hero and Daredevil's ideal of being a hero. The ending gets a little wishy-washy where you're like, did he die? What's happening? Where did he go? And I guess that's supposed to be the cliffhanger. But I really like the interaction between Spider-Man and Daredevil in particular. I think there's some good inner monologue. There's some wonderful art. It's nice and gritty, but the white snow really contrasts well. So overall, giving that one 3.5 stars. I like the direction. Curious to see how this one's going to end. Moving on to number 4, a book I actually was originally going to drop. I'm glad I stuck with, because again, it was a smaller week. So Vanish issue 6. This one I liked because we get a little bit more of the grounded elements of our main character and his wife. And his wife leaves him. You kind of have an idea of what she's been going through. And there's some good reveals throughout the issue as well of what happened in the past. Did he actually kill a man? And that they're going to have a child together, but he doesn't know that. Those are the elements I really enjoyed. And then the more darkness witchblade elements, when you get into the heavy mythology, is honestly not as interesting as the more character beats that happen here. So I like this issue. I thought Ryan Stegman did a wonderful job at the emotions of this issue while still playing with some powers in those scenes as well, and magic. So overall, giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Mary Jane and Black Cat issue 5. It's the last issue of this miniseries, and if you didn't read it, you should, because it's just so much fun. With this issue, we get to see the girls just team up and beat the bad guy. That's really the whole issue. And then the bad guy's like, hey, you guys are a good team. You want to like hang out in hell for a while? And they're like, no, I'm good. But it really is just utilizing their powers. There's some really awesome moments of them having the sword, this magical sword, and they're split it in half, and they fight with that. So it was just a well-balanced issue. Just enough action, just enough character work between the two girls, and just a nice back and forth between them and the villain. Is it a shattering issue? No, I don't think necessarily you need to read this to be like, oh, you got to read this to understand Amazing Spider-Man, but I don't think every miniseries and story has to do that if there's enough character development and character work. So overall, giving that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Local Man issue 3. This is legit one of my favorite books on stands right now, and it's kind of what I was talking about with Vanish, where I love the quiet moments in a superhero book, and this is like, you know, that 90s superhero book you loved? Let's see what happens in a modern retelling of that, and let's ground it completely. And it's about this guy, which you finally understand why his name's Local Man, who his name as this 90s hero has been tarnished, and now him as being a good guy is being the local man. It's him because he still wants to help people. He's still a good guy, but he's also a bad guy because he wants to cheat on everybody. Yeah, I like those elements, and I like just the groundedness of it. Like the conversation between him and this demonic creature seemed so real. You know, she's just smoking her jewel, and she's just like, yeah, I don't want the demon to come out anymore. Did you read my newsletter? And those are the moments I really enjoyed about this, and I think the character growth and world building so subtle, and every issue progresses really well. And it's just a really wonderful mystery, too, because it's a murder mystery. That demon girl ends up dying in the end. You're like, okay, who's behind all this? All while you're building other things, and it's not just about the mystery. It's about everything around it as well. So overall, giving that 4.5 stars. The artwork is splendid for this book as well. It's just a wonderful creative team. So giving that number 2. Again, that's 4.5 stars. Number 1 for me, a book I've been really anticipating, and that is Green Arrow issue 1. And this is just it's a perfect issue 1. That's the best I could say. You open it up, and they literally describe who is Green Arrow. Cool. If you've never read a Green Arrow comic in your life, you understand now who Green Arrow is. Okay, maybe I now know who Oliver Queen is. Who are all these other people? Well, let me tell you who all these other people are. But in an entertaining way. It's not an exposition way. It was very easy to tell us who these characters are by still progressing these characters at the same time for people who know and love these characters. And then you turn the overall idea of Oliver Queen on its head and still doing something different. You are treading old water in a good way. Where we get to see Green Arrow's origins always had to do with the island. It's always him being stuck with his PTSD on that island, even when he's outside of it. So now he's outside of time, outside of this multiverse, and he's stuck there. He is stuck on that island as his friends and family are trying to save him. And maybe he did something a little bad at the end too, and you're like, where's his motives? Is he actually the family man? And then there's a big moment in this issue for longtime fans, again, that is explained very well for new readers, that Roy Harper's daughter comes back, Lian, which is a character we haven't seen in a while, and you're like, okay, you feel for that, you feel for Roy in the end, and then she disappears, and that's kind of the end. You're like, damn, I want to see more of this story. I want to see why Oliver did the thing he did. I want to see answers about this multiverse, but I also just want to see more from these characters, and the artwork is really well done. It very reminiscent to old school Green Arrow books. I would say like early 2000s Green Arrow's books, and there's some good action in this one. It's a perfect issue one, and I do not say that lightly. So glad this is getting picked up for at least 12 issues because I want more, and Green Arrow deserves a spotlight like this, and the creative team just did a wonderful job with that. So that's my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Let me know in the comments below what was your pick of the week. And last week, the viewer's pick of the week was Superboy. And here are some comments about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.